Hello and welcome to a new episode of Ghoulish! My name is Max Booth and I am a host. And today on the program I am talking with Lisa Quigley, author of the brand new novella Hell's Bells, out now from Unnerving Press. And today we'll talking about a little something you might know called the Devil, aka Satan, aka Lucifer, aka Beelzebub. Maybe. I'm not certain how to pronounce that, Will, but it looks really cool the way it's spelled. Why are we talking about the devil? Well, hey, you're just gonna have to continue listening to find out. And also buy Lisa's novella, Hell's Bells. It's pretty good. I quite enjoyed it. I already read it because I am famous and people send me books for free. Hey, Lisa, you want to talk about the devil with me?
I think that sounds great.
Now, the reason we're talking about the devil is you have a novella coming out soonish through Unnerving Press called Hell's Bells. Would you like to talk a bit about that and let the audience know what that is?
Yeah, Hell's Bells is part of the Rewind or Die series that's coming out this year through Unnerving Press. So the Rewind or Die series is a series of novellas that are not related or linked in any way, but they are supposed to kind of recall the vibe of the video store from like the 80s and 90s, and just like that feeling of going and picking up a movie with a wacky cover and not necessarily knowing what you're going to get when you get home. So this specific tale is called Hell's Bells, like you mentioned, and I've been describing it as a teen girl coming of age sympathy for the devil tale with a hefty dose of Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, you have a lot of Queen references in it.
Yes, I do.
In fact, every chapter is named after a Queen song, right?
That is true, and I've actually created a an accompanying playlist on Spotify that is like that has all the songs in the order of the chapters. Because I thought that would be fun. I haven't shared it anywhere yet, but I will do that soon.
We could also include a link in the show notes as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. I think I called it something like Sasha's Queen. I called it Hell's Bells, Sasha's Queen mixtape.
That sounds appropriate.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with Unnerving with this project?
Let's see. I saw so back in I think it was like June or May of last year, Unnerving put out a call for pitches for novellas and announced that they were going to be doing this series called Rewind or Die, and this was the type of thing they were looking for. And it was pretty cool because he opened it up for women early to just like pitch to him. So I didn't actually have to have the novella finished, which was kind of a cool experience because I had known I was going to work on this book. It actually started as a short story. Funny thing, it actually started as a short story for the pizza anthology that you wrote, and I just ended up reworking it and taking out all the pizza because somebody read it and was like, I don't think this is a short story. I think this is a novella. And as soon as they said that, like this whole world opened up to me. So anyway, yeah, yeah, so I had already known I was going to work on this, but it was like really what I wanted to do was like really wacky and weird, and like I had no idea who would ever want to publish such a thing. And then I see this call from Unnerving, and it was like, all it felt, I was like, whoa, this is actually this wacky story I want to write might actually work for something like this. So I put together a pitch and sent it over, and he messaged me back and said, I'm really interested in reading that. Send it over when you finish. So I worked on it all summer and sent it over to him when I finished. And he said, I want to publish this. And here we are.
Excellent. Now, how long have you had an interest in Satan and the devil and Beelzebub or Beelzebub? I am not positive how you pronounce that one, but it looks cool.
Well, let's see. I have a deep soft spot in my love for Satan, or in my heart for Satan. I
Yes,
I'm
go
not
on.
I'm not a devil worshiper. Well, maybe I am. I don't know. So I grew up really, really religious. Like almost. Well, I mean, you read the book, so you probably get a sense that maybe this is some stuff that I kind of dealt with in my childhood.
Yeah.
I grew up in a home that was like very much like one of the characters, where it was just like kind of oppressive, just very just intense. And the devil terrified me. The devil, I thought for the longest time, I thought the devil was real. And if anybody's listening, if you think he's real, then I apologize. But
But also, you're wrong.
yeah, and if he's real, he's probably awesome. Um, but yeah, I grew up like terrified. I would have like nightmares. I would sometimes wake up from a nightmare and think like the devil was like there were demons coming after me, and I would like go try to talk to my mom. And I just was, because I feel like when you're a kid and you're talked to, like my parents would talk to me, and I have a great relationship with my parents now, so I'm not like bashing on them or anything, but when you're a kid and your parents are talking to you about the devil and demons like they're a real entity, that's fucking terrifying. Because what I conjured up in my head of like what this entity out there was like specifically, I mean, part of the teaching is like that the devil wants to ensnare you at every turn or whatever, and that like basically everything you encounter in your life is like the devil trying to get you to go away from God and go like burn in hell forever. And as a kid, I mean, for anybody that's terrifying, but I just feel like as a kid that's like traumatizing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up in a religious household at all, but I mean, I was around folks who did, and it often seemed like almost similar to Santa Claus, where it would just give an excuse to like threaten the kid to do what they wanted. Like, oh, if you don't eat the rest of your dinner, you might spend the rest of your life screaming in agony.
Yeah, exactly. Or like it was a way to like as we got older to try to keep us in line too, like oh, if you drink and do drugs, you're going to go to hell. And I actually I don't want to spoil too much, but there when I was like 13, I went with my youth group or whatever to this, it was this crazy like I don't know, this weekend teen retreat or whatever, and they had all these speakers and skits, and there was this skit, I might be mixing up some of the memories, but I remember watching this skit or this like troupe or something come through, and they did a thing called Heaven's Gate, Hell's Flame, and it was like this really crazy performance that basically just like manipulated you into being terrified of hell. And that was actually the first time I ever like went down at the end of something and said the sinner's prayer because I was just like, if I die on the way home from this, I do not want to go there. That's terrible. And they basically like do skits like that where it's like people like I don't need God, and then like they get hit by a car on the way home, and then they go to hell, and they had a chance to accept Jesus and they didn't, and like it's really scary. And so yeah, as I got older, it was like yeah, like the devil was like if I had if I did drugs, if I drank, if I did anything that I wasn't supposed to, had sex, anything like that, it was all like that's the devil and he's trying to get you, and you know, you have to be on your guard against the devil.
The the name Teen Retreat will not sound suspect to me. Can you nothing good happens at a teen retreat. There's always some repressed memory that's involved. Can you remember what type of like specifics they went into representing hell in these skits? Like what was going on?
I don't remember specifically. I just remember, and some of it is mashed up with a bunch because I saw a lot of this kind of stuff growing up, so I don't remember what was from what. Um, but like this one that I saw, this one might have been a video that they showed at my church or something that was also a skit. They're really into skits.
Comedy troupe.
It's like, but with Jesus and like hell. But I remember one is like this guy didn't like he had a chance to repent or whatever and he didn't and he died, and then they have all these like this like smoke comes up. It's like a smoke machine, and then like this devil comes and he's like welcoming him. You know, it's because you're expecting like the myth is that you go to Heaven's Gate and St. Peter lets you in or whatever, but like there was this one that it was like he wakes up and he's like going to hell. He's like slowly realizing that he's going to hell, and then all these like be like dancers dressed in black, but they're like writhing, like come around in the smoke, and they're like pulling at him and tugging at him and like yanking him into hell as he screams.
That sounds like a it sounds like a Josh Malerman live reading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Except for a lot more, like they're like serious, and you're just supposed to be like terrified at the end. And of course, so everybody goes down like, oh my god, I don't want to like act, you know, die on the way home, and then I missed my shot. And I think I did that prayer like 10 times because I never felt like it stuck. And I was like, maybe one more time just to be safe. Maybe this time just so I don't, you know, maybe the last time I didn't do it right. So I really don't want to go to hell. Um, so yeah, I grew up with this like terror of hell and Satan and the devil.
When did this change for you?
Um, I so it's weird because I grew up with this terror, but a big part of my terror, I think, was that I never felt like that was the world for me. And so because I didn't have the framework of I don't know, anyone outside of my life to tell me that like I had no guidance besides people who were in the church basically. So I just was like, well, if I can't like get it together and be a good Christian, then I'm screwed and I'm going to hell. And so that was my belief for a long time. And then for a while I was just like, well, I just decided like I couldn't, especially once I moved out on my own. I was like, I'm not following that way, but I didn't know enough. Like I hadn't read enough. I hadn't like been exposed. I was very sheltered and naive. So I just kind of thought, well, I'm not choosing to be a Christian. So I guess I'm just accepting that I'm going to go to hell. So that was the reality for me for a while. I was just like, I was like, maybe I'll get a chance on my deathbed to like repent and then I can, you know, but I was like, I just can't, like, this life doesn't feel true to me. It doesn't feel real or whatever, but I didn't know what my options were. And I didn't even realize that there were other options. I just thought that it was either you were Christian or not. And then it was really just a process of me meeting different people, being exposed to different ways of thinking. And I mean, it took a lot of years for me to kind of work my way out of that fear and that terror. And then I think it was really in my late 20s when I stopped even ever considering going back to being a Christian. It was just because I think in my earlier 20s, it was like, I'm living this life, but maybe eventually when I get it out of my system, I'll go back, whatever. And it's not like I was doing anything that bad. I just wasn't following that lifestyle or whatever. So I was just like, well, maybe when I get it out of my system and I'm older and I can, just live the good Christian life. But as I kind of met different people, read different things, was exposed to a big part of it was reading mythologies from around the world and realizing how many similarities there were. And it just kind of made me realize like these were not like absolute truths. They were like stories and archetypes and ways that humans have tried to put things that can't be put into words. And I was just like, it's like, I can't really explain it, but a whole other reality opened up. And I just realized like, oh, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Reading
And
reading about those other mythologies, they really help because you kind of think, well, why is this one right and everyone else is wrong? Who made that decision? Is it just because I grew up in this side of the planet?
exactly. And then there's so many like where you're like everybody who has those different mythologies or those different faith systems believes theirs is right and somebody has to be wrong and they can't all be right. And so it just kind of makes the whole thing. And I don't mean to disrespect like people's individual faith systems or whatever, but for me, it was just like there's no one way you have to be. You just have to find your own way in a world that makes sense to you. And yeah, so but part of all of it is just I don't know if it's my personality, but I have this just I find like irreverence really funny. I actually love the archetype of the devil because especially and on my podcast actually on mine and Mackenzie's podcast we did a trope episode where we talked all about the devil and like it was Bracken McLeod and he told us all this stuff like he's like really well versed in all of it and he was talking about Paradise Lost and how the devil is this for a lot of people is a symbol of someone who defies authority and says, no, I'm going to do things like my way and follow my truth. And so because of that, I'm kind of just like, this guy's a badass. And he doesn't scare me at all anymore.
What did what else specifically did you do you like about the devil?
I just love his I like well, obviously I don't really believe in the real devil, but in terms of like as a character in mythology or as an archetype or whatever, I love the rebelliousness, the fact that he was like he was like the only one in heaven who dared to stand up and say like, why do we have to do it this way? And then he got thrown out and he was like fine. And then I just love the whole like the Paradise Lost quote where he's like better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. And he's just like he does what I like about him is he just doesn't give a shit. And I really love the devil or the Lucifer character from Neil Gaiman's Sandman and then the Sandman or the Lucifer spin-off comics.
I
And
haven't read those. Can you elaborate a bit?
well, I haven't read all of the Lucifer comics, but basically in the Sandman mythos, I think it's the fourth volume. It chronicles how basically Lucifer. It builds off of this mythology in a way that's like uh kind of based on the whole Paradise Lost idea of Lucifer as a character. And so he never wanted to be the king of hell. He never wanted anything to do with any of this, which was the whole point. And so he in this particular version, what happens is he's like, I'm done. This is all stupid. I never wanted any part of this anyways. And he leaves hell for an extended vacation on Earth, and he opens a bar in LA called Lux, and he just like says fuck it, and he like leaves. And then they do a spin-off comic. I think I've only read the first volume of that, but in that one he's like on this he basically just in that one he's like, I just want nothing to do with this world at all. And so he's on this quest to find this key that will take him to like this outside of the world and outside of creation, because he doesn't want anything to do with creation anymore, because he never wanted anything to do with it. So it's like his quest to find this, I think it's a key or something, or some portal to get to outside of God's creation. But it's really good. And then they made a show out of it, which is a little bit different, but I still love it. The show is a little bit like goofier, but I just adore the Lucifer in that show. And he's very much in my book. Not to spoil anything, but this kind of like, in the Lucifer in my book is very much inspired by the Lucifer in the show, which is it's actually not a Netflix show, but Netflix just bought it. I think it was going to get canceled, and they took it. But in that one, it's very much based on the Sandman, Lucifer. So he left hell for an extended vacation on Earth to open a bar called Lux. But then it's really about Lucifer just like trying to, he wants to be, it's kind of like a Dexter in a way. He wants to be human. He cuts off his wings. He wants to be like part of the world, but not as like on his own terms. And he has a lot of like daddy issues, like God is his dad, and he's like, the black sheep of the family. And it's so it speaks to me on many levels. I feel like part of what I like about Lucifer is that as someone who left the church, I feel like that's basically what he did. So I feel like I relate to Satan.
Go on. I do like how to make children hate rock music, we decided that the devil would be into rock music, and that only made us like rock music even more. It really backfired.
I know. Oh my God, I know. Yeah, it's like the devil is in the rock music. That came in when I was a teenager. My best friend's dad, my best friend's family, they were super Christian. My family was super Christian too. And but my best friend in high school's family was like Pentecostal Christian. I don't know if you know what that means.
Nope.
So a Pentecostal Christian is a little bit more of like a mystical type of Christian. They are the ones where you'll hear about like they're the ones like if you see the sermons on TV where the pastor like has everybody come stand at the front to get healed.
Oh,
and
okay.
He's like yelling in their faces, and then they like fall down and they're like, I'm healed, and then like speak in tongues, and it's very like, I don't know, out there in the sense that it almost like joins mysticism and Christianity a little bit. So they were very into the spirit realm and like spiritual warfare, which is basically like doing a lot of praying to ward off devils and demons. There's a lot going on in their minds, in terms of they think like there's a battle going on invisibly behind us, basically. And so there's a lot more, even more talk about like demons and Satan in that kind of Christianity because they think it's like basically happening behind the scenes at all times. And so, and I might be oversimplifying it, but that's basically how I kind of took it at the time. But her dad was also, he used to be in the 70s, like before he became a Christian, was like wanted to be a rock guy. And then when he became a Christian, he started singing, like writing his own Christian songs. And he like never really gave up on his dream of being like this rock guy, this rocker. And he would like have his whole family be in his rock band. And I joined it for a while, but it was like this weird hippie Christian rock band. We like toured in Texas at one time. It was like, but at churches. It was so funny.
What was the band's name?
It was the Tom Lipinski Band.
Oh.
That was his name. We made a CD. We went to Austin and recorded a CD.
Oh my God.
And I still have it, but I need to like put it on my iTunes so that I can share this with people because it's so weird and bizarre. And I mean,
how old were you when this was going on?
Like 14 and 15.
This is awesome. What instrument did you play, or did you just do vocals?
I just sang. My friend played guitar sometimes, and sometimes I had a tambourine.
That is so cool.
And her dad played an organ, and and it was like a lot of that like old school, like, you know, the 70s music always has that like the organ music in it. And her brother played the drums. It was like all his kids. Like my best friend was the oldest, so she was like 16, and then his son was like 14. He was the drummer, and then it was like his whole family. But I mean, they were actually pretty good musicians. And he was pretty good. You know, it's like very goofy, like 70s style Christian music. 60s, 70s style. Yeah.
What did the album cover look like? I'm hoping something amazing.
Oh my God. It was, there was a song on there called The Watchman. And so, so it's really hard to describe, but their backyard had this high cement wall. And so basically he had us go like stand in the neighbor's yard at the top of that wall, so it looked like we were in like a tower. And, and then like I think I don't really remember all of the details because it's been a while since I've looked at the cover, but it's basically this picture of us looking like we're in a tower. Maybe he went up there too, I don't remember, but it's like this like really bootleg trying to look like we're in a tower when we're like just standing at the top of this wall in their backyard.
That's pretty cool. It's creative. I like it.
Yeah. And I think the watchman was like supposed to be in a tower, and that was like why, because he was like the watchman, he was like watching for something.
Why did he have a giant stone wall? That's odd.
It was El Paso, Texas, and so some backyards had these tall cement brick wall kind of things because there was like I don't know, I really don't understand why. It was just like maybe there were hills or something, and so the other house was higher up than that one, so there was like a big wall. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
But oh yeah, so he made us watch this documentary that was about how Satan had infiltrated rock music. And when I tried to find it, because I tried Googling it to try to find it, I couldn't actually find that one. But I found a different one called Hell's Bells, which is like where I got the title for this story.
It's also the title of a really cool old cartoon.
It is?
Yeah, from I don't know the 50s, maybe even before that. It's all these inanimate objects and like cool old school cartoon devils just dancing and having a great time.
I feel like, did you talk about this with Betty
I did, yeah.
Rocksteady on your, yes, I feel like I heard you guys talking about that, and that sounds amazing.
I told Betty I had just finished the novella that you wrote, and I was saying how much I liked it. And I said it was called Hell's Bells, and she got really excited. But then I had to explain it had nothing to do with the actual cartoon.
Oh, I'll tell her I'm sorry. Um, but I mean, I feel like in that sense, it's not it's not a title no one's thought of before, but I just love it so much because it it was just like this mythology of like hell's bells are ringing, that I grew up with as a kid, and I that just stuck with me. But yeah, this my friend told me about this recently when I was looking for the original documentary, and she said there was one she watched which got into all the symbols and stuff that was supposedly, it was all very conspiracy, um like any, you can basically pick up any album cover and like decipher messages from Satan in it, based on what they were saying. And
Obviously.
yeah, of course. And that one I think is the one that I saw, but it's like discontinued, or I think maybe you can order it, but it was like $50 to order, and I was like, I am not spending $50 on this garbage. But um but I did watch almost the whole Hell's Bells one, which you can watch online for free, which is like well, it's not, it's like 10 hours, so I didn't watch the
Oh
whole
my
thing.
God!
It's like a
Why?
series. I don't know. So I didn't actually watch the whole thing, but I would like skim through it and just watch it because I was just like, these people are nuts. Like they're so convinced. They're like, but they've discovered that Satan is behind all rock music. And what's so funny is like they'll play something backwards and it sounds like garbled, and it's just like, and then he's like, they like put caption on it to tell you what it says, and then when they play it again, you're like, oh, I can kind of hear that, and it's like,
Goddamn subtitles.
it's so funny. There's one backwards one with the Rolling Stones, and I forget what it says. Uh, it's like basically like bow down to Satan, or something like that. I'm getting it wrong, but that's one that stands out. And you have to really, oh, I know what it is. It's My Sweet Satan. It's Stairway to Heaven played backwards, and supposedly if you play it backwards, it says, "It's my sweet Satan. Oh, I will sing because I live with Satan." I just looked this up.
That's pretty awesome. I wish it said that. That would be cool. What a great way to market something.
I know.
How would you even go about making a message like that in a song backboard? I mean, I don't have the mental, uh, creative ability to think in the idea of a palindrome.
Well, so here's the thing is that they didn't even have to supposedly think of that. This is the theory on the video, is that basically because these singers and artists and rockers had sold their souls to Satan, or like were working in tandem with Satan on purpose, or had like devoted themselves to Satan according to them, that like Satan could use occult magic to make the backwards messages show up even if it wasn't a palindrome.
And why just stick to one genre then? If he has this awesome ability to just edit music like some cool producer, why not do music like the Christians will actually listening to? Why not do like country music?
Or Christian music.
Exactly. Yeah. I think those are the same thing in my head. Maybe like someone could be singing about how he loves his pickup truck, but if you played it backward, it would be like, "I want to make love to Satan."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they do get into, like, they say there's a whole section of like how pop is even more dangerous. They think pop music and more innocuous music, because they were like, heavy metal is like, there's no denying that it's satanic, which I love to think about now, because I love, it's like all part of, I mean, a lot of heavy metal is basically just like horror stories. They're stories put to music, and also a lot of it is just in the same way that I am writing about Satan in a way that is like kind of criticizing different things. Like, I think that different types of music relying on that is like trying to push those boundaries on purpose, to say like, is, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm
Hmm.
making any sense,
Yeah,
but
definitely. Will.
like they were saying, like, obviously the devil is connected to heavy metal. Like, we don't even need to argue that. But you think that your Beatles are safe. Well, guess what? You think Janet Jackson is fine, but guess what? That's how the devil gets you. He makes you think it's no big deal. This is safe music. That's like a whole, they go off on a whole tangent on how it's like candy, and we just eat it up, but we're really getting poisoned by Satan. It's so hilarious.
Nothing is safe.
Nothing is safe. Satan is in everything. But so there was a time, like, I want to say like early 90s, maybe late 80s. I think this is all like and I'm not really good at like the history of it or like the timeline of it all,
Hmm.
but I am like pretty sure it all coincided with the Satanic Panic era
Yeah.
of like everything was the devil, and they were supposedly underground cults and satanic worshipers and all this stuff. And there was a whole movement of CD smashing and record smashing and tape smashing and all of that stuff. The youth groups would have record smashing parties.
Did you ever get involved in one of those?
I never did one with my youth group, but after my friend's dad made us watch this video, we were like, "Oh my God, we got to go through all our music." And I wasn't like, I wasn't like convinced, but I thought it was really fun to look for the symbols and like go. And we were even like, we got to look at our Christian CDs too. And like, oh my God, that could totally be a 666 right there, just distorted into a circle with, and like all this stuff. And, so I think we went through a phase where we did look for like the symbols on our different CDs and tapes and stuff that we have. And we might have I don't know if we actually smashed any, but we might have just been like, we're getting rid of these. Um, but yeah, it was a whole thing. Um, yeah, it's very, very bizarre and weird.
How did Queen become involved in this book? I realize that sounds like the actual band Queen helped you write this book. But I mean, was that
Well,
just your favorite band growing up, or what's going on with that?
no. Gosh. So this is so embarrassing. I don't know why I'm so embarrassed by it, but uh, I what happened was I saw the movie, and I knew Queen songs, I knew Queen music based on like, it's just in our culture. Like, you can't like live here. You can't go to a baseball game and not hear a Queen song, because they play like, We Will Rock You or whatever, you stomp stomp clap
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like in society, but I never really knew who was who, or like what, if a song came on, I like I could sing it, but I didn't necessarily know it was Queen. And then like my husband wanted to go see a movie, and we had a babysitter, and we went, And I was like, yeah, sure, sounds good. He's like, I want to see Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm like, whatever. I just want a night out. I didn't even know anything about the movie. I didn't know anything about it. And I just was like stupidly enchanted. Like I was just like, wow. Like I don't and people have opinions about the movie and I really just don't care cuz I thought it was magical and it like it just I was like I had no idea about this story, about these people, about like how like unique the music was for the time and like I never really stopped to think like Bohemian Rhapsody is like a fucking crazy song.
Yeah.
Like that who thinks of that? And so I just got like really I went down a rabbit hole. I got really obsessed. Read like I think I read like 3 different Freddie Mercury biographies last year. I just was like I need to know more about Freddie. I need to know more about Queen. I made my husband go. They did a tour with Adam Lambert. We went to I drove made him drive me to Massachusetts. Well, we drove each other to Massachusetts so that I could go see them live. It was just this weird, but also because uh so going back a little bit, I grew up so sheltered but like I loved music, but I didn't have any friends that knew about like cool music or what like normal people were listening to. So I had all these like Christian bands that were like trying to mimic it. I like wanted that kind of like I wanted to be the kind of like kid who listened to cool music and went to shows and had like band posters. I just didn't know who any of the bands were. And so I don't know, it was like so as I've been an adult, I've been like discovering different bands. So I discover things a lot later than people anyways. And so I feel like this was like me being a teenager really late.
I haven't seen that movie, but I think that's pretty cool that you discovered them that way and fell into this obsession. And I really like how you have all the chapters named after Queen songs, and not only that, but the titles kind of go with what is going on in the plot at that time.
I was really delighted with that part of it. Well, and so like I had this idea. I was like, I gotta do this thing, this story, these elements I want in it. And then when the Queen was kind of the last piece, because then that happened, and I was like, I gotta write about this somehow. I need to write about how this is making me feel. Why is this like touching me so much? Why is it like affecting me the way it is? And then it all just kind of came together. And then I was like, oh, this is the missing piece. And this is a weird ass story. And who is going to want to read a book about witchcraft or the occult and the devil and Queen? Like, I was like, this is so bizarre, but like, this is what is coming out. So, but then when I started thinking about the plot and like what was happening, and I knew I wanted, because her obsession is Queen, I was like, I think it'd be really great if it's Queen songs. And I started going through all the titles, and I was really amazed by how well I could make it sync up with what was happening. So I thought that was a really fun thing for me to be like, okay, this is happening in this chapter. What would be a good Queen song for that? And if I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, I would just go through on iTunes and like look at every title, and until I was like, oh my God, that one's perfect. So yeah, that was really fun.
I have to admit, I think it's almost the last chapter. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but like a big thing that's going on that involves a song.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was reading at my hotel, and I thought, I don't recognize this song title. So I looked it up, and I began playing it as I was reading. And it really added a strange, unique effect to the text.
I'm so glad you did that. I was hoping, so the hard part about writing a book that relies so much on music as like a kind of like a driver of the plot is that you can't use any song lyrics.
Right.
And so I did like I would try to get away with it by doing like two words to give people a clue what I was talking about and then like describe it or use some other way to bring the music in. And that was really hard with that scene you're talking about because it's such a pivotal moment. And I'm like, how do I do this without just like saying all the song lyrics? Because you can't do that. And it's not like I can just like call up Queen and be like, can I use your your lyrics in my novella? um uh yeah, we're not on that level.
Not yet.
Not yet, not until they find out about my book.
I thought you did a really good job of matching the frantic energy of that specific song.
Thank you. And I was hoping that I would do like cuz I was like, okay, I bet you not everybody's going to be that familiar with this song. So I wanted to put enough that they would get a taste of it and then I was really hoping that people would do what you did. That I was like I really want to make people go look up that song and either read the lyrics and see what the heck I'm talking because it's also that specific song is a very that was back it was like from their first album and that was during the time when music at that time and what they were doing also was it was a trend in music to rely on like almost like a fantasy story kind of vibe and that one in particular I was like this is such a fun like weird fantasy song. It's a weird song. It's really weird. And I was hoping that people would get to that part, not quite know, and then go look it up and listen to it or read the lyrics. So I'm really glad you did that.
Yeah, mission accomplished. I had never feel that song at all in my life. I'm not a big Queen fan, but I like the music. It's just they've never been a band I've went out and thought, okay, I'm gonna go listen to some Queen.
Right? And that was totally I always just thought of Queen as like it was just like music you heard. It was music that was in the background. It was part of the culture or whatever. I never stopped to listen to it until the movie. And I mean, that was the point of the movie. So it did its job. It was like basically to introduce a new generation to what they did or whatever. And some people still might not like them or think they're too showy or whatever. But I also love like for the time, like the rebelliousness of their glamour was also very like devil vibe to me. Like they were doing a thing that was so weird and wacky for the time. Like now we look back and it seems like foofy. Like they're wearing these weird fluffy outfits and makeup and glitter and but like it was this really outrageous thing for the time. And so I don't know. I really just love it. I got like really down a Queen rabbit hole because of this. So
I
clearly.
I suddenly have a memory of when I was a teen, a rowdy teen, you could say. I wrote this short story of about a kid who digested some type of drug, and he went to someone's house, and for some reason they had hundreds of sex toys hanging from the ceiling by chain, but then they all one by one the toys they conjured mouths and they began to sing Bohemian Rhapsody
Oh my
in this
God.
odd musical chaos. I forgot about that completely. I hope I never find it.
Oh, I hope you do. I hope you put it like on your Patreon.
it,
Special bonus tier.
oh god, it's probably online somewhere too because I would always post anything I wrote online. Oh
Oh
god,
my God.
I'm gonna get canceled.
Uh,
Okay, I can't believe how much time has already passed. That went by extremely quickly.
really fast.
Please
Oh,
tell the audience how and will they can buy Hell's Bells and will they can find you online.
The best places to find me online are on Twitter. Twitter is at LA Quiglet. That's LETTE. That's just because there's 100 people named Lisa Quigley already on Twitter. So LA Quiglet. That's my handle on Twitter, and it's also my handle on Instagram. So you can find me in either one of those places. You could also go to ladiesofthefright.com, which is the website for mine and Mackenzie's podcast called Ladies of the Fright. And we are also on Twitter at LOTF Pod and on Instagram at Ladies of the Fright.
Sweet. And when does Hell's Bells come out?
It comes out May 28th, and you can pre-order it on Amazon. I believe if you go to my Twitter, the pinned tweet has a link to my pre-order. I believe the pre-order is just for the ebook, but on the day that the book is available, which is May 28th, you'll be able to purchase it in either paperback or ebook.
Cool. I will also include a link in the show notes, of course, as well as the Spotify playlist, which sounds like a great idea.
I was really excited. My friend said I should do that, and I was like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. And so I did it.
I did something a little similar with my debut novel. I came up with a soundtrack, and then I made like a tiny booklet that I would send to anyone who bought the book. I still have so many copies just laying around my house because I did not sell that many.
Wait, like a song booklet? Like
yeah.
Of all the different songs?
Yeah,
oh my
like
God.
I would staple them together. It was intense. It was way too much energy put into something. Spotify is a great idea. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, great.
I love it.
This has been awesome. End the podcast now. Goodbye. Alright, thank you for listening to a new episode of Ghoulish. If you liked what you just listened to, hey, why not go leave a review on iTunes? Leave a little review. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/PMM Publishing. I have a new book coming out pretty soon called Touch the Night. You can pre-order that from Cemetery Dance. I just released a new novella called We Need to Do Something about a family stuck in a bathroom. And through my small press, Perpetual Motion Machine, we just published the debut novella from Michael David Wilson called The Grill and the Video. So yeah, go get that. It's a good book. People like it, including me. And I wouldn't lie to you. Would I?